NBA. The league found no evidence that the Clippers funneled cash to Kawhi Leonard via team sponsors to circumvent the salary cap. That does not mean, however, the situation is over. After an 11-month investigation, the NBA is now focusing on whether the Clippers violated any rules when introducing Kawhi to sponsors. The trade of Kawhi Leonard to Toronto still on hold through all of this, and it could wind up going to arbitration. So that's a messy situation, but not nearly as messy as this. The Lakers, after the Buss family voted earlier in the day yesterday to sell their remaining shares of the team, almost 18%, to Josh Kushner and Bob Iger, who you know had taken over from Mark Walter and company. Their sibling and the Lakers governor, Jeanie Buss, is contesting the sale, saying that all three trustees of the Lakers, of which she is one, have to be on board. So I want to bring in Ramona Shelburne on all this because she follows it as closely as anyone and knows, hopefully can make some sense of what feels to me like an impossible situation. Ramona, so the fans, I think, watching this yesterday, it's like your head is spinning. The Lakers are being sold. Oh, the Busses are selling out also. Oh, now they're not. What is going on? What exactly did Jeanie do yesterday?
Well, you know, when you say the Buss family decided to sell, we're really talking about 5 of the 6 Buss siblings, and they believe they have the right to do this because of what's called a tag-along provision in the original sale to Mark Walter, which is if Mark Walter ever decided to sell his shares, they had the option to tag along to the sale that he makes at the same valuation. Jeannie's point here is that they can't do anything without her, and she did not even vote in the family vote that took place on Monday morning. She just abstained, and she's pointing. Her lawyers have pointed to a 2017 court ruling, a court order in the previous case that she had against her older brothers that said the trust can't do anything without her say so, because this trust, which is what owns the shares of the Lakers. It's not held individually like each of the 6 siblings owns 3%. The family trust owns all 18% of the Lakers shares.
So what does this mean now? What happens next? Where does it go from here?
Well, let's point this out. Jeannie's lawyer sent a letter to the other 5 siblings' lawyers. Nothing has been filed in court yet. He's just reminding them, this is the court order. You can't do what you think you've done, okay? But I've covered a lot of these things before. Nothing really happens until you actually go to court. So now what we're doing is waiting for the response from the other 5 siblings. Will they respond in court or they respond to Jeannie's lawyer? Either way, there's going to be a lot of billable hours on both sides, but it sounds like we're heading for some sort of fight here.
This is a significant thing. So if you're a basketball fan, you're asking, do I really care who owns this team? This matters because Jeanie Buss maintains the role, at least now, and was supposed to for several more years, of being the controlling governor, meaning she decides who the GM is, the coach is, all those sorts of things. Where does all of that stand now?
Okay, that's a really good question, Grady. Jeanie Buss had an agreement directly with Mark Walter, and it wasn't just a handshake agreement or we're in the room. She had it in writing that she was going to be the controlling owner for 5 years. Well, the first year has passed, so there's 4 more years of that. She believes that that was going to continue with Josh Kushner and Bob Iger. Now, Bob Iger met with Jeanie Buss late last week. I can report that. And he reaffirmed what he said in that statement to the California Post when he first bought the team, which is they intend to honor that agreement. But then, of course, there was a hedge in there. If something changes, it changes, what he had said, okay? I guess this would constitute a change, but if you're Iger and Kushner, you essentially sit back and let the family fight it out amongst themselves. I reached out to them for comment. As of now, they're declining comment. And so I think this is in the hands of either the court or perhaps even the commissioner of the league will get involved here. There'll be a lot of other discussions amongst all the parties, and we'll see if something gets worked out without having to spend hours, months, years in court.
Yeah, that seems unlikely. So, 2 quick things I want to make sure we get here. First and foremost, whatever becomes of this, that doesn't impact Kushner and Iger, right? The sale of the Lakers from Walter to them is going to go through whatever happens with the Busses. Is that right?
That's, as far as I know, it doesn't affect anything there because it's a separate sale. I mean, Mark Walter has agreed upon this sale, but that still has to go through. It still has to be approved by the Board of Governors. Now, as we talked about last week, Iger and Kushner already had their money well funded and sort of looked at and to some level, I wouldn't say approved, but to some level vetted by the NBA because they've been in the expansion process. They didn't just come out of nowhere here. They've been going through this expansion process, which is kind of that bid process in Las Vegas has been ongoing, and it's kind of nearing the final stages. And so it should be a fairly quick approval process unless there's any red flags, but those would have probably come up by now. So that should stay on track. It's just the issue of the Buss family 18%.
And then super quickly, because I just have a moment, we'll have you back a little later in the show. Maybe we can go a little more deeply into it. Mark Walter also owns the Dodgers, and he owns a very popular soccer team, Chelsea, overseas. Certainly there are a lot of fans concerned about that. Does this have any impact on any of that?
Well, they're saying right now the Dodgers are not for sale, but neither were the Lakers, okay? So I don't think it's going to stop your local billionaire from calling them to see if they're available, if they're interested in the Dodgers. But my understanding, they're not for sale. Chelsea, on the other hand, the Financial Times reported yesterday that Mark Walter and Todd Boehly, who's his partner in this, and Todd's really more of the owner of Chelsea, have some level of interest in selling Chelsea. Now, what I can tell you, and this is my reporting from yesterday, those discussions have actually been going on for 12 months. This isn't new. The discussions between Clear Lake and Todd Boehly and Mark Walter have been going on for almost a year.
Okay, Ramona, stay close by. We'll come back to you a little later. There's so many layers to all this, but obviously with the Lakers and Hollywood, you expect big drama, and that's exactly what we're getting. Ramona.